Welcome out there once again to my program. Always a pleasure to be here and always a pleasure to have you out there in the audience. I have a group of people from Tiverton, Rhode Island, and they are running for the Charter Review Commission. This is apparently a 6-year event. People run as candidates to get onto the charter, and the objective of the commission is to review the charter in Tiverton, Rhode Island. There's a similar process going on here in the city of Fall River, but we're going to talk about the one in Tiverton, and my guests are going to give you out there, hopefully the voters, an opportunity to understand what's going on in your town. So, as we go around, I have Bill Lopes. Bill, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Richard. I'm delighted to be here.
Good. First time.
Absolutely.
We've known each other for a while,
Yes,
right?
we
From
have.
the church.
Yes.
Stephen Clarke. Stephen?
Yes, hello, Richard.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Stephen, a candidate, and why are you a candidate, Stephen?
Why? I want to play an active role in controlling our taxes.
Okay. Justin LaCroix, you ran for the Rhode Island House in 2016.
I did. It was a fun run. I pulled in 45% of the vote, so I like to say I made a lot of friends during that time. It was a great experience.
That's good for you. Ray Fagier, a Tiverton businessman. Ray, what business are you in?
Winter sports.
What is, please?
Winter sports.
Winter sports.
Yep. I have. I'm an inventor of sorts, and I manufacture things that I have previously gotten patents on.
Well, we're going to have you come back and explain what you do.
Okay.
As a businessman from Tiverton. And let's see. We have
Rob Coulter.
Robert Coulter.
Bob Coulter. I thought maybe I had some. Yeah, there is something right here. Attorney, past member of Tiverton Budget Committee, and a past member of Tiverton Town Council, and was on the Town Council when Tiverton adopted the Financial Town Referendum. That was a big to-do, right?
It certainly was, and we're trying really hard to make sure we protect that referendum because we worked very hard to put that into place.
We'll get into that, yeah. And Nancy Driggs, attorney and current member of the Tiverton Budget Committee. Nancy,
Right.
welcome. You've been on several times before.
Yes, and actually I think my first time was when Tiverton was thinking about passing the FTR.
That's right. That was some time ago.
Yep,
Well,
2011.
2011, 6 years ago. All right, let's get into some of the aspects of what this is all about. Now, the apparently the Tiverton Taxpayers Association, if I'm correct, is sponsoring you as candidates. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit at that. The Tiverton Taxpayers Association started pretty soon right after the Financial Town Referendum. It's a nonprofit, it's nonpartisan, so it's open to all flavors of political persuasion, and it has a keen interest in protecting the Financial Town Referendum because the FTR, as we call it, is a very good thing for taxpayers. So we have opened up a forum like this for interested candidates, and I suspect you will also see other questionnaires, perhaps other affirmations of dedicating to the FTR coming out in the future, and those will be going out to all 24 candidates for the election coming up on July 18th.
So there's 24 candidates.
Correct.
People have to take out papers. Is that was that the process and get votes?
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go out and we had to retrieve those signatures to at least be able afforded the opportunity to run for the charter.
And how many signatures did you have to get?
50.
50 signatures. Well, that wasn't too bad.
But the commission itself will only have 9 members.
Right,
So
out of the 24.
when a voter goes into the polling booth, they can only vote for 9. So the
Vote
TTA.
for more than 9, the ballot is disqualified, correct?
That's correct.
And
So the Tiverton Taxpayers Association, which is nonpartisan, its slate has 9 candidates on it. You have Mr. Karen, who was here last week, Donna Cook, and also Richard Rahm, besides us.
Okay, so the lucky 9 candidates, am I exaggerating when I say lucky? Those they'll be commissioners. They'll be actually sworn in. Is that correct, Steve?
I'm not totally familiar with the process at this point. Maybe somebody else can address that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. Certainly, they're elected officials. They'll be sworn in just like the other
Town
folks.
council or the town clerk will
Exactly,
you go before
yep.
the clerk, raise your right hand,
Yep.
get sworn in.
But what is unique about this is that the commission is elected directly from the voters. They will present the recommendations to the town council, so that the recommendations of the commission have to go to the town council, and we would expect the town council to endorse and follow those recommendations, and that has
Now,
been historically
does
the case.
will the commission have a budget while you're commissioners? Do you have a budget?
No, it's an unpaid position with.
No, not pay to the commissioner, but do you have a commission budget?
No.
All right, so it's a little different because here in Fall River, I believe they had, we're allowed a $60,000 budget. So how do you get your message out to the voters? If you put something in the paper, obviously you have to pay. If you print things up, there's going to be a cost.
You mean as the commission?
Yeah.
I think more importantly, our role is going to be to get input from the voters. We need to look at past experience. We need to look at any information from department heads, from commissions, from boards in town, and from the public of any ideas people might have for what they would like to see improved or changed, or, and then we keep track of that, and that's the process. So we are getting information and then distilling that information into some recommendations that we feel.
All right, so as I understand it, Bill, you'll be
Yes.
getting this information from the voters. You'll have public meetings, I imagine, public hearings. People will be able to address the commissioners. Is that correct, Bill?
That's my understanding.
All right, and then once the commissioners come up with the items that they want to keep in the charter or change the charter, these will be passed on to the town council? Is that how it works?
Yes.
That's correct.
And Richard, just so you understand, the commission, it's elected for 1 year.
Oh, and
And
then
that-
it's disbanded?
And that 1 year commences upon the election certification after the special election by the Board of Canvassers. So a year from that date is the amount of time this Charter Review Commission has to get its recommendations to the town council.
All right, so you have 1 year within which to get the items that you want to pass on to the town council, but at the end of 1 year, the commission will be disbanded. So let me ask you, what do you think is, if your group, 9 of you or 7 or 8 of you are on the commission, what are some of the items that are paramount right now in regards to what you want to have or keep or put on into the charter?
Well, there are basically 2 important items to us. One is the maintaining or the preservation of the FTR process.
Now, let's get into that. The FTR. What does FTR stand for?
That's the financial referendum.
Financial town referendum.
All right. And give a little background, a little definition of that, because 6 years ago when you came on, that was really something that was really important, and you got it into the charter, and I believe you want to maintain it. What is it really? What does it encompass? What is it?
Can I just quickly,
Sure.
probably the most important thing, and it passed 2 to 1, was it offered the tax-paying voting public direct access to a secret ballot, 5 minutes in a polling booth to vote for a budget, as opposed to what used to happen, which was a financial town meeting, which could be 1 or 2 Saturdays in a gym that didn't hold all that many people. And the participation rate has increased in the voters who vote on the budget since this happened, and it did pass 2 to 1.
And the important part of it, I believe, is that any town resident can submit a budget.
An
Is
elector's
that correct?
petition. That is correct.
Now, I mean, a lot of people in town, and suppose you get 100 people who submit budgets. Who actually, how does this process work? Do you cull these out? Say, this is ridiculous, you know? This one doesn't warrant to be on a ballot. How does this get from someone drawing up a budget and it being actually on a ballot?
Yeah, so very, very briefly, part of the beauty of the financial town referendum process is that there are no surprises. So the sponsor of an alternative petition, of which we've had 5 or 6 of them over the years, that we've never had a scenario where there's been 8 or 9 or 10. They have to also get those signatures. They have to meet some minimal requirements so that they're properly presented for the voters. And then
Okay,
there's
that's prior to their budget actually being voted upon by the town residents. Is that correct?
That's correct,
What-
Richard.
What are some of the things that, what are some of the hurdles they have to overcome?
to reach the ballot.
Yeah.
So they have to gather 50 signatures as well from electors. They tend to do more than
That's
that.
kind of minimum in a way.
In a short period of time, but and then there's a financial town hearing where they also have a public hearing and an opportunity to present and defend that budget. And then, of course, they have to win the vote itself. And in addition, the budget has to be proper, so it has to
Okay, I think
give
that's
proper
my basic-
notice of
Yeah.
that.
What's a proper budget?
Well, for example, it has to give the public fair notice of what the tax levy would be or what the line items would be changed from the budget committee. Incidentally, the budget committee, the school committee, and the town council all can put their own budgets on as well. So for a petitioner to put an alternative petition in, they have to show what would change so that a voter's not surprised. And those are, you know, those are hurdles, but they're I think set at the right level where it's, you know, not too hard to do.
And that's I believe, something that you want to maintain in the charter is the financial town referendum that you worked so hard before to get passed. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, the other thing I think that came up was the budget committee. Now, is that actually in the charter too?
Correct.
So in other words, that could be eliminated. Is that right? So if the commissioners get together, the new set of commissioners, and they don't want to have a budget committee, they might not want to pass that on to the town council. Is that correct?
Richard, you know, some people might try to say that getting rid of the budget committee is streamlining the process, but really what it's doing is it's eliminating proper checks and balances to make sure that, you know, taxpayers' voices are actually heard and not disregarded. You know, scrutiny of the budget committee is something that will make sure that, you know, our tax dollars are, you know, allocated properly.
Now, the budget committee, how many people are on the budget committee?
11.
Oh, 11. So
11.
it's a big,
It's a
Big
big
committee.
committee, and the budget committee has the duty to weigh the cost of goods and services that people want, whether it's the school or the town, but they have to balance it with the needs of the town and the ability of the taxpayer to pay it. So it's a very responsible balancing that has to go on, and because it's 11, you have to get at least 6 people to agree with your position
Now,
to win a vote.
You're currently
Yes.
on the budget
Yes.
committee. Now, is that an elective position?
Yes. 4 years.
Oh, every 4 years. Will
Well,
that,
and staggered. So I'm in my 3rd year, And then some people were elected last year, and they'll start 4 years.
All right, so the whole 11 are not up for election at any one
Correct.
time. All right, so that's something you want to maintain, I imagine. Is that correct, in the charter?
Yes.
The Budget
Yes.
Committee
Definitely.
also. So there's a couple of things. Are these somewhat the most important? Or are there others in regards to the charter as you view it at this time?
Well, another
Yeah.
item would be the casino money.
All right. And that
we-
comes in the charter?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's town revenue. Now, right now, the charter defines what types of revenue go into the bucket for town revenue. Now, there are some people that want to put the revenue from the casino into a separate bucket, which could potentially allow them to circumvent the town referendum process.
Well,
So we-
does the charter commissions have a say in that, control over that? Or is that something separate from the charter commissioners?
Well, it's something new, so I think the charter has to be modified to
right.
address that.
Yeah.
All right, so in other words, you want to get that into the charter to cover the revenue from the casino?
Yes.
We're looking at, we're looking at, $4 million in projected revenues, starting 2018. And people in town, there's an opinion that 3 million of that 4 million should not go through the FTR process. And
Okay.
that causes the diversion of money into like what Stephen said there, that separate bucket, a little slush fund, which we all know what happens when money goes there.
All right, I understand what you're saying, and I think my next question is basically, as I understand your charter commission, these items will then, that you endorse, you might say, be passed on to the town council. And historically, the town council, am I correct, has always adopted or taken these items into consideration to put on the ballot? But the voters have the last say. So,
As it should be.
if you protect, you want to
Well-
keep the, the budget committee and the financial town referendum, and safeguard the casino revenue, but when it comes to voting, these things could be rejected because it's you have like a line item, yes or no type vote, right? Am I correct? So your good intentions to keep the referendum, the town financial referendum, could be eliminated by the voters.
But
Is
it's
that
not-
correct?
It's not yes and no for the whole.
No.
No, that's
It's
what I've said.
item by item.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
They could say, well, we don't want, we don't want this referendum. It's too confusing. We liked it the old way. They could eliminate it, correct?
Well, I might just add, the town has a long history. And before the financial town referendum, you may remember back when we had financial town meetings and multiple Saturdays sweltering in the gymnasium with, pandemonium isn't too strong of a word there, but so the voters,
Acrimony.
I mean, the voters approved the FTR in a 2-to-1 vote. And before the FTR, there were multiple proposals over time to try to get rid of the Budget Commission or the Budget Committee. Those have also been defeated. And the casino itself was approved by the voters. So we have no problem. In fact, that's, at least I believe, we're here to make sure the voters have that very choice that you're talking
All right,
about.
so you feel
Exactly.
very confident that these things will, when they go to the voters, will be maintained by the voters?
I do, and there may be some other, tweaks to make the charter read better and be more efficient, but those are the three most important things. The concern that I have, and I believe others share, is that without a charter review commission that has that voter in mind, that they may never get the chance to take that vote in November of next year.
Yeah, I was just going to add, my guess is if you were to ask maybe 10 out of 10, but definitely 9 out of 10 people why they voted for the casino, their primary reason would have been because the revenues will help lower our taxes.
Tax
So I
relief.
think I think the population as a whole would be very disturbed if they find that that is not where the revenue is going to go. So,
Well, suppose things just work out. Go ahead, Bill.
Richard, I'd just like to add, if you take a look at the financial town referendum, you know, it really was a game changer for Tiverton. It has allowed us to think more positively about the future, about our ability to manage our expenses and control the taxes. If you look at this chart, I don't know if we could see the chart.
We
but-
might, I think, yep, there
Yeah,
it is.
but if you look
Yeah.
at the chart to the left of that vertical line, that was the old process, the financial town meeting process. In 10 years, which is from the very bottom of that curve all the way to where it intersects that straight line, our taxes doubled. Now, think about it. Has your income doubled in 10 years? Mine sure hasn't, and I don't think very many people's has. And if you look at it, you look to the right of that curve, that is when the financial town referendum took effect.
Yeah, you got one spot there at...
Zero.
You got zeros.
We've-
And then on
yep.
the other side, the left-hand side,
Yeah.
you got what?
Yeah,
10%, 11%?
Yeah, yeah.
So that it's,
So we're very confident that if the taxpayers in our town have an opportunity to vote, they clearly are going to want something that's going to help them to manage their expenses, to allow this town to, and we've only just, this is just the beginning. If you look at it, that's only a 5-year period. The first 2 years, I believe we did not have any petitioner.
the first year, there was an elector petition, the very
Was there?
first year, but it didn't pass. So the first 2 years, the Budget Committee recommendation passed. Then the next 3 years, where it really leveled off, that was all because of an elector petition coming in. But the effect of that elector petition provision has been, and we have felt it, we can hear it and see it in the town.
Yeah.
Pencils have really been sharpened. And this
Yeah.
year, for the first time, our Budget Committee came in with a 0.5% increase.
I heard a question that was raised by a Tiverton town resident in regards to the casino revenue, which could fluctuate. And how will that be handled? Will the budget be adjusted based on the revenue? I guess the revenue that you will get in town is going to be every 3 months, every quarter?
I'm not sure of the frequency, but they're basically two chunks. One is a piece that's associated with the real estate taxes and associated with the casino and that property. And then there's another chunk, which is the larger chunk, $3 of the $4 million.
What is the tax on the casino property? Do you have any idea?
$1 million, roughly.
Okay, roughly $1 million
Now-
tax. That's
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
So it is, but
And then there's
when-
the other side.
then we've got the other chunk, which is $3 million, and this is the area
And
that
what's that
concerns us the
based- what's
most.
that based
That's
on?
based on the gaming
Their revenue?
revenues. And we have a guaranteed amount, and I believe the $3 million is guaranteed.
So as long
There's
as they're
some
there-
upside potential.
As long as that casino sits there, they have to pay $3 million to the town,
That's right.
even if the doors are shuttered. And if they're in operation and they're making huge amounts of money, which they probably will, that $3 million could go up.
We have upside potential.
All right, so I
So-
guess that's a concern. What's the, generally, what's the concern about the money? Bill, go ahead.
Well, I'll just start it, and hopefully my friends here can join in. But basically, the concern is that if indeed that $3 million chunk is associated with generalized funds, to be candid about it, a slush fund or slush funds, then there's an opportunity for some individuals in town to get access to those funds without the taxpayers, voting on how that money should be spent.
Well, the town council would have to approve, wouldn't it?
They would.
So
They would.
any going into the 3 million,
Yeah.
complete the whole amount, town council would
Right.
have to present that at a hearing or a meeting, correct?
That's true, but we feel it's much more democratic, it's much more responsive to our town needs if all the town voters have an opportunity to vote on those items.
On that specific
On
revenue.
that chunk as
Specific casino revenue, is that it?
A direct,
That's
a
correct.
direct say into that,
Right. And
Just like all the other revenue.
so rather than a small group of people making decisions and perhaps even being influenced by
Who would
other
that small group
factors.
be?
Well, town council could be some other. Rob, do you have something you want to add?
Oh, no, I really like that you brought up the chart, and,
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has the best of intentions in mind. I think the concern that many of us share is that they lock in that spending up front, and by doing so, whether it's in a purchase requisition or a contract of some sort, and thereby let's say that is the guaranteed $3 million, and by spending that up front, it takes away the opportunity of the voter. And I should say too, although I expect that a large chunk of the casino revenue will be used for tax relief, but one of the most important things about the FTR is that if a majority of the voters want to spend that money on something else other than tax relief, that is their right, with advance warning in a secret ballot, and every single person in this room, and I've talked to, would respect that. But that's the most important thing, to not deprive the voter of that choice.
Oh, yeah. So, the casino, are going to open up next year? Summer?
No one's privy to that.
No one? No? You don't have any drones going by over there?
We don't
Earlier
see
the
a lot
better.
of commercial activity going
Yeah.
around in that end of town.
You got to get the Rotary, but there's plenty of time, I imagine, to put that in. Casinos taking care of the expense of that Rotary? They're going to pay for it?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a confusing area anyway, traffic-wise, so a Rotary will make that much easier to traverse. And then it'll have an entrance into the casino. All positive or some negative part of it?
Well, I just feel I should mention, I found it interesting that there was a casino subcommittee that was formed by the town council. And I just found it rather interesting that the mission of that subcommittee, it had a new sentence added the minute the casino passed in town. And the new sentence that was added was one of the missions of this town council subcommittee was to develop a plan for the allocation of gaming revenues. So that's where sort of a light bulb went off, and we thought, I think we'd better really take this
How
seriously.
many on that, well, we're getting down to really the end of the show. Any quick comment? Half a minute. If not, I want to thank everyone for being on. It was a pleasure to have you here. I've become very informative about what's going on in Tiverton in regards to this. I want to thank the audience that we have. Let's give them a nice round of applause. They did a wonderful job. Great job.